Good morning.
Happy Saturday.
Welcome to the Never Settle Code.
This is Matthew Lindsay.
And this is Jerry Fetta.
And I own Wealth Dynamics. Matthew, what do you own?
Precision Home Group.
And a bunch of other things. But we want to talk to you today about the Never Settle Code. We've gone through the entire code with these guys so far, right?
Oh yeah, whole code, all 10 of them. Today we're talking to you about quitting.
When do you quit?
Now, you might ask, why are you guys talking about quitting, never settle, quitting, kind of the same thing there, what's going on? Is there ever a good time to quit?
I think, yeah, there's definitely a good time to quit. It depends on what you're quitting though.
Exactly, I love it. So we're going to talk about when you should quit, how to analyze where you are today, and figure out, hey, is this an environment, is this a job, is this something that you need to quit? It could be health related, it could be fitness, it could be financial. You know, we've talked all these different types of dynamics in your life, so we're here today to talk to you about when to find out when you need to quit something, and more importantly, when you need to start something.
Now, I like to look at, because we talked never settle, I like finances, so I related to settle a couple months ago. Settling is like paying off a debt, so when the debt's paid off, it's settled. So I actually don't think settling and quitting are the same thing.
Okay,
so think about a debt, right? So let's say I owe you money. Settle means I paid Matt off. Quitting means I refuse to pay. I'm just done. Mm-hmm. Matt didn't get paid. I'm just done. There's some collateral damage there for sure. So when you think about quitting, and that's why it depends on the topic. Like if I'm going to quit something, I have to realize that I am going to leave some damage. I'm leaving an activity unfinished. That's not good for my morale or my ethics. There's somebody on the receiving end of that. Mm-hmm. But ultimately, it's about what is the greatest good.
Yeah.
So when you're looking at quitting, like what do you analyze? Because we've all quit things. You quit your old job to start a business.
Yep.
I've quit several businesses to get my business where it's at.
Yeah.
Like what do you look at when you're like, man, do I quit this? And how is it different than like when you're training for a marathon right now? So how's that different than like when you're training and your brain's like, oh, I don't want to do this?
So it all comes back to production, which is one of the codes, right? We need to look at what is being produced from what you're doing. If you are in a job and you're like, man, I don't know what to do, I'm not growing, looking at other opportunities, other venues, maybe you're looking at Jerry's company, maybe you're looking at my company, and you're just talking to yourself, you're like, what am I producing in my current environment? So that's the first thing that I would look at. Mm-hmm. Look at your production. If you're not able to increase your production, if you're not able to, be coached through it, apply new tech, apply something new to your environment, to your job, or whatever you're trying to grow, to increase that production, well then you need to start looking at other venues.
Yeah, and I would say on that note of looking at your own production, if an individual hasn't maxed out their potential with the current opportunity, I don't think they should quit. So if you're let's say you're working a sales job, right? And you're like, man, I really want to quit. I want to go join this other company. I want to start this other business. Well, the fact of the matter is, if you haven't achieved all you can achieve and you're not actually at the top, when you quit, it's not going to be any different. So the grass is greener because that person's watering it. You're not watering your own grass.
100% agree, and that's why I started with, without being coached, increasing your production, doing that kinds of things. I think you should always look at yourself first, and instead of, oh, this job sucks, the environment sucks, the economy sucks, all these different types of excuses and objections that you give, look at yourself first. Look at, hey, how can I produce more? How can I look internally so that I can perform externally?
I like that. Look internally to perform externally. Now, the other thing I think we got to look at when we quit things is you got to look at what's the desired outcome. Mm-hmm. Okay, so that this prevents you from just jumping around like shiny object syndrome. If you're like, all right, what's the end goal? Where am I going? And does this thing I'm quitting, does it get me there, or does this new opportunity get me there? Not like, is the pay better? Not, does it seem easier? Not, do I like the people better? It's not, do I think it's going to make me happier? It's, does it get me to the objective?
I agree. And there's a couple things that maybe we disagree. Maybe it's just the verbiage we're using here. You're saying, hey, don't quit until you reach your potential in something. But if someone was in a sales job or any other type of job, and they just realized that they could get better, but there isn't enough volume of sales, like the product isn't the right product to sell. Whether it's A, they don't firmly believe in it, or whether it's B, the product just isn't right. It can't be sold in volume high enough. Do you think that might be grounds for quitting without reaching the potential for maxing that out?
In my opinion, no. So I look at it like this: like if I've got a bad script, let's say I reapply this concept to the phone. If I've got a bad script, before I'm like, hey, I need to change the script, I need to make sure it's not me. So I'm going to keep using the bad script until I make it good to prove, okay, yeah, I got this. Now I'm going to go do the other thing. So, when I look at like an opportunity, like not enough, volume or not enough margin or not enough, sales or training, like those are all things I could be cause over.
Yep.
And by quitting, I'm saying, nope, I'm not going to. Now, the only time when I say, hey, it's okay to quit early is when somebody else is suppressing you.
Okay.
So when it's not up to you, you can't be cause over them, which is a very small percentage of the time. But let's say I'm trying to grow and I get my hand slapped. Or I'm trying to do things that I know are going to help me win, and they're like, no, you can't do that. If I'm in handcuffs, then I'm going to leave the environment. But if I've got freedom and I've got the ability to go learn things, I may not have the tools readily available. I could go learn them because I'm going to need those at whatever the new thing is anyways.
And then what about A? It's a product that you don't firmly believe in. I think it could go two different ways. I think you can either sell yourself, and if you can't, then you should go look for something.
Yeah, so I think that comes down to, is it ethical?
Yep.
Okay, and I'm really big on responsibility. So if you're not sold on the product, dude, you should have thought. Or poisonous. If it's ethical and it's not going to poison you, then if you're not sold on the product, I think you should have thought about that before you started.
Agreed. Now, there's different sides to that as well. I'm wholeheartedly into that statement. But as people grow, as people develop themselves, as they become more aware, as they train, as they further themselves through personal development, I think that there's growth that takes place that changes ethics. I think ethics gets refined, if you will. Would you agree with that?
Definitely.
Okay, so I think that ethics get refined, and you may be in a place now where you're like okay doing whatever you're doing, and then as you go through personal development, as you do stuff, something that was okay in the past is no longer okay, and that's when we're saying, hey, analyze your current situation, and then go look for opportunities that fall in line with your newfound ethics.
Yeah, and I think, again, the responsibility first should go to, because if we're thinking about doing the greatest good, so let's say I'm selling used cars, and I'm good with it, I like it, I love it, and then I start learning, like Matt's saying, and my ethics get refined, I'm like, dang, I don't think the quality of these vehicles is what my client base deserves.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking about, man, how do I go work at the new Porsche dealership? Well, who says my dealership wouldn't sell nicer cars? So if I have a refined ethics level, I would think, for me personally, it's my responsibility to see if I can actually initiate that in the current environment and make change rather than just saying, hey, I'm out.
Maybe it's a new vertical you can bring to that dealership.
Yeah, so I mean, there's tons of ways to first, I think we're both agreeing on the point, like first, do all you can do. This goes back to if you can, you must.
Yeah.
And if you can and they're not allowing you to, then yeah, definitely go look at where can I express my refined level of ethics to make something even better to do the greatest amount of good.
Exactly. I don't know why, but refinement, I'm just thinking of like proper.
Yeah.
Tea.
It's like a British.
Yeah.
Yeah, tie bars, cufflinks.
That's it.
Yeah.
So, that's when we know how to quit. Okay? Always look at your current situation. How can you better that? How can you refine that? How can you bring the maximum amount of good to the maximum amount of dynamics in that area before you make that decision to quit? Now, if you've been able to maximize that out, reach your potential in that location, you're being suppressed. Maybe you are, your top salesman. There's no other things that you can do to raise your potential in that environment. You've stressed all other options. Maybe that's a consideration that you have, to look elsewhere. But even in that situation, bringing in more people, mentoring people. Is there a new vertical you can bring to that used car dealership that we're talking about as an example?
Right.
Could you start a new branch of that? Can you go across town? Is there literally other things that you could bring to that dealership to bring new money to them? So is there new things that you can stress before you go look at a new opportunity?
Yeah, and one thing I want to throw in here, because you and I have both been in this kind of a situation before, realize when you look at your activity, like let's go back to the example of working at the dealership. When I'm working at the dealership, working at the dealership is not the only thing I'm doing while I'm there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so there might be things that happen like as a micro level inside that working in that environment might be putting me in a position where I've got to choose between here and this thing over here that I also do simultaneously. So, and I'll give you an example. So I'm a Grant Cardone certified coach, and so a few years back, the brokerage I was working at, they literally told me, you cannot use Grant Cardone stuff. We don't believe in him. It goes against everything we teach. We're not going to allow it. You can't use the affiliate program. You can't tell people about the training. So I quit. I was like, I'm out of here, guys. And the reason why was, do I quit this or do I quit this? So if you've got the choices there, you're going to have to quit something sometimes.
And one thing that I would also add to this is quit fast. If you know that you're going to quit, if you've come to the realization, hey, I need to quit this, I need to start this, I need to move from A to B, don't make time a consideration. Mm-hmm. Don't sit there and dwell, because that creates poison in where you are. Even if you're the most ethical person, some part of you is saying, hey, I am staying here against my own will. Mm-hmm. And because of that, people will see that, other employees will see that, the employers, the clients, everyone's going to see that. Make that decision, make the ethical decision, hey, I need to get out of here, I need to start my own thing, go to this other business, whatever the other is, and just go do it.
Yeah, and that's totally it. So quit fast, because like Matt just said, like it's you being held against your will, but it's also like an ethical thing about like I don't want to injure the environment.
Right.
I might not love it here, but if I'm not committed, then it's not right for me to stay.
Exactly.
Because then I'm stealing.
Exactly.
So, quit fast. And then I want to hit one thing Matt just said, whatever the other thing is. So let's talk real quick, what should the other thing look like?
Yeah.
So the other thing, it has to be ethical. You have to know up front, I can believe in this, it's helping people, it's the greatest amount of good. Mm-hmm. It's got to have volume, which means you can do it a lot, it's scalable. It's got to have margin, meaning when I do it once, I get paid well, and it's actually sustainable. And then it's got to be the right vehicle for you as far as something you can commit to long term. Yeah. So there's no 6-month job hopping. It's like, man, I could do this for 40 years and freaking love it and get better every year.
Yeah, I want a Maserati, not a Honda Civic.
Yeah, and if that's the goal, get into the Maserati in the first place, right?
Yeah.
Now the last thing is the leader. Okay, so you need to make sure that the leader can push and take risks and do things that, if you're the leader, do things that other people wouldn't be willing to do. If you're not the leader, they're willing to do what you're not willing to do, which means you're going to be very uncomfortable in that environment. Go into that knowing that.
Oh, yeah. And know that leader who's taking risks, who's pushing the limits, they're sticking out like a sore thumb. They're going to have, numerous people that probably don't like the way they're doing business, but look at their production.
Yeah, so I think that's Precision Home Group and Wealth Dynamics. So, guys, if you're quitting something, like we talked about, look at those points. When you're considering the new opportunity, look at the points we just mentioned. And like we talked about, the new opportunity, it does stick out. It's not something you got to search for. It's the obvious answer. You may not realize it's obvious till you actually stop and look at it.
Exactly. So, we have another event coming up here this next weekend. It's going to be, what's the date on that? September 7th or 8th? It's the second Sunday of every month. It's going to be next Sunday. Not tomorrow, but the following Sunday.
Yeah.
Operation Reborn.
Yes, sir. Operation Reborn. So it's the second Sunday of every month. So it's the one coming up. And this month is special. So this month, we're actually going to be hiring somebody at Operation Reborn for Operation Reborn.
Yep. Hiring on the spot.
On the spot. So we're going to have our typical food. We're going to have haircuts, training, but we will be breaking up and doing practice, drill, and role play on what an interview looks like. But there also will be live interviews going on in the back. And we're hiring one person from this event to come work for Operation Reborn. So, Matt, what are we looking for?
So we're looking for individuals who are, hardworking. We're looking for someone who wants to work, is hungry to work, hungry not just to work, but change their life. So, we are there to empower the at-risk communities here in Anchorage, Alaska. And so by doing that, we're looking for people who want to change their lives, not just looking for a handout, right? Mm-hmm. And so this is going to be, the perfect individual for the position that we're hiring is going to be ethical. They're going to be hungry. They want to change their life. They want to affect change in themselves and want to be part of something bigger that's helping us change the community.
Mm-hmm. And honestly, we don't care what you look like. We don't care about your background. We don't care about your history. Like, we're talking about what condition is the individual in today.
Yep, and this is entry level. It's not like we're hiring out, you need a certain certification, you need a nursing degree or any type of degree or a certificate or anything like that. This is entry level. Anybody can apply for this.
So if you're interested in that, or if you know somebody that's interested in that, show up to Hair Science Barbershop. It's going to be the second Sunday of September, which will be in about a week, and it's going to be 11 to 3. And, show up, be ready to perform, be ready to do the drilling, the role play. And I really think the level of involvement we see from people on this drill stuff is really going to dictate who we hire.
It's located at Hair Science Barbershop, corner 15th and C Street here in downtown. Again, that's going to be next Sunday from 11 to 3. And like Jerry said, we're going to be doing the drilling, rehearsing. And we're going to start off with the applications. We're going to have people go fill out applications. They're going to be working with all of us, all the 4 business owners who are part of this, and we're going to be doing mock interviews, right? And that's what we're talking about, drilling and rehearsing, right? So we're going to be doing mock interviews, putting people through those so they can know what types of questions they can expect, what type of questions, how to respond to those. Throwing in some objections, throwing in some different questions that maybe they haven't heard of or they haven't formulated responses for. Mm-hmm. And then, so we got applications. It's kind of a big filter, right? We have applications, we have mock interviews, and then we send them out once they're prepared to actually do the interviews with employers who are on site looking to hire.
Yep. Guys, it's going to be awesome. If you know of people, get them to Hair Science. I mean, we're doing great things. Again, it's going to be corner 15th and C next Sunday, 11 to 3.
See you there. Hey, hit that like, subscribe, and follow.
For your health.